Driving into the Black Texas night, my car drove over the fourth bloodstain on the road, huge and asymmetrical. Traveling across Texas alone was not my idea of fun, but it was my idea. It only made sense I would do this when my company required I be in Austin the second Sunday of November 2017 for a conference, to drive up to Abilene and check on my very elderly, very isolated in-laws. He with severe Parkinson's, her with advanced Lewy body dementia. The husband, born and raised in Texas and with no siblings, didn't like the idea, said so, and I smelled a fight. When do either one of us happen to be in the state of Texas, I reasoned. He said, you just don't get it, you don't understand, and he walked away disgusted. So with that, my plane landed on the Saturday, not the Sunday, the night before, and I set off in my rental car through the dazzling lights of Austin, headed due northwest toward Abilene in 6 lanes of traffic, which became 5 lanes of traffic, which then became 4 lanes of traffic, with some big box stores and gas stations, and then 3 lanes of traffic to 2 lanes of traffic, and then very quickly I was on a 2-lane highway, very desolate, with car lights way in front and way, way behind, and maybe a distant farm light occasionally on the left or the right. A bloodstain appeared on the road, and then no lights anywhere, and I was driving into black, another bloodstain on the road. I might as well have been driving into a black ocean or to the edge of a flat black earth. And while it seemed like maybe I was driving through a Coen Brothers movie, I was not driving through a Coen Brothers movie. This was not good. There was no one around. There was no one to save me. There was no AAA. My phone hadn't had a notification in hours, and this was a bad situation. Until suddenly, a light shone on the passenger seat, and I looked, and ringing silently, it just said Dad, who I'd forgotten I told this plan to days before. Hello? Where are you? Somewhere in Central Texas. Where are you headed? Early, a town called Early, halfway between Austin and Abilene. Did you get the hotel? No. You better get that hotel. Click. And after checking the 4 available chains in Early, Texas, no room was available save for 1 room at the lonely flea bag price at a Night's Inn. Why are all the rooms booked? I asked reception. There's a hunting festival in town. You want the room? It's 11:30 and I'm fixing to settle in by midnight. Yes. And with that, I was driving at the higher speed through the Black Texas night until after a time, red and blue lights in my rear view. I pulled over and almost cinematically, a Texas sheriff strolled up to my window in a crisp 10-gallon and asked for my license. You from Massachusetts? Yes, sir. He stood back and surveyed the car. Is this a rental car? I said, yes, sir. He said, you were moving at a pretty good clip there on Main Street. I said, what Main Street, sir? What town? I don't know what town this is. He said, where are you headed? I said, Early. He said, that's up a ways. He said, you know, there's buck that cross this road all the time, and a good-sized buck will wreck your car and hurt you. I ask you kindly to slow down. And with that, I was driving at the medium speed until I reached my room, which I did not go into an office for. I paid outside like you were paying for a movie ticket. And I spent the next 4 hours in the clothes I was in, curled up on that edge of that bed in that dank little room until an alarm woke me and I set off into the gray Texas morning. And the industrial landscape finally of Abilene appeared like a metal mirage. I made it to the house where I knocked and rang the bell, knocked, rang the bell, knocked, rang the bell. And no one. I thought, my God, could they not be home? I pushed the door open. I called out, Jim, Jim. And then I saw him standing there looking at the morning paper, and I remembered he's almost completely deaf. He saw me. He greeted me. I collected him and took him to see his wife of over 50 years in a local nursing home where there were holes in the wall above her bed, and the pungent tang of urine visited our senses in every corner of the place. And after that, in a Sonic parking lot, this man, not my blood relation, not my, in their parlance, kinfolk, said to me, well, what do you suggest this old broken hillbilly do, Amy? his humanness filled the air between us. Jim, I said, you ought to make plans and pack what you want. You two ought to come north near us. And I dropped him off and set forth for a day of traveling back to Austin through a landscape I had driven through the night before, but was seeing now for the very first time. Thank you.